What's going on, family? Welcome to an installment of R3aL Methods. Me and my business partner, Elijah Jetson, we're going to be diving in on a variety of topics. Today's conversation will be all about planning as a man. Planning as a man. Today's day and age, we are lacking a lot of leadership. We are lacking in visions, and we're lacking in execution. And my personal view on it is, it comes from not planning. It comes from not planning, not having a plan, not being prepared, not actually orchestrating and strategizing what it is that you really want to do. So we're going to go and dive on this topic today. I'm going to pass it over to my partner and just hear his thoughts on what it's like to plan as a man and what men should get accustomed to doing.
Great way to start, great place to start. So a nuance for this, I'm personally double Capricorn. I'm conditioned to structure, and it makes me happy, structure and discipline and having those organizational things. But a nuance here that I want to give everyone an analogy, hyperbole, a story to think about is paying attention to children, right? When you're in a childlike mindset, an immature mindset, you just want things to happen, right? You don't think about how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, what needs to happen so it can happen, what things have to conjure together so that thing can happen. You just like, I want it to happen, which is a great concept to have with the universe. But in the Bible as well, Quran, all these books, it reminds you of how much you have to work with that faith, right? You have faith that's going to happen, but you have the discipline to execute every single day, knowing it's going to happen regardless. Though the immature approach that most of America, I'm not going to say society, most of America is conditioned to believe is things just happen. And this is actually, I was studying a book last night around this, and it's one of the fallacies we have about accumulation. We just think, right, the reason why most people aren't rich is because we just think, if I put my money away, it's just going to compound. Yes, but the nuance there, somebody who does that knows that the goal is to borrow and leverage that same capital you have compounding, taking a loan against your money, right? There's certain nuances that fill in the blank that we're alluding to right now when we say the masculine energy of planning, of having some structure, having some guidelines, having some OKRs, having some KPIs, having some deliverables attached to the request, because sometimes we just have a dream and we have no disciplined plan of action to supplement our request. And this oftentimes leaves us in a situation where we're at a conundrum. Patrick Bet-David spoke about this yesterday in a different way of motivational speakers. I can inspire you, I can motivate you, but if you don't know what to do next, you end up doing nothing. So this is the premise of my perspective in this conversation.
That was beautiful, brother. And I wanted to add on to that, because we have similar viewpoints. For me, at least, before you can actually plan, though, there's this prerequisite stage of learning. You have to learn. You have to get the knowledge in, right? Because how can you know how to build something if you don't even know it exists? How can you know what you want if you don't know who you are? There's prerequisites to understanding that there's value acquisition that we have to get in a mindset of normalizing. You have to know, and then you apply. And the plan is the bridging point between knowing and applying. There's a bridge, so you can think of it as an A. I'm going all the way up because I got all the knowledge. I'm bridging across with my plan, and then I'm executing my plan. And that's how we actually get from point A to point B. It's not really a straight line, but it's more like an arc. There's a bridge there. We built a bridge of knowledge, planning, and execution. So, brother, thank you for your viewpoint on that. I also want to talk about why it's so important, outside of just getting to your goals, why it's so important to plan. And I want to take it a different spin on it, since we are talking to the men out here, or to the masculine, why it's so important to plan, not just for us, but for the feminine as well. From my standpoint, the masculine is a frame. You can think of it as a cage. and the feminine plays and runs rampant all inside the cage. And without a plan, the feminine will get overran, or she'll get burnt out, or she won't feel safe enough to act out, to do the things that she does. They say feminine energy is chaotic energy. And I want to say, I heard that chaos is just another word for opportunity. So the chaos is not a bad thing. And I have a saying all the time. It's not that we want to go through life without any distractions or any setbacks, but it's learning how to manage the chaos with confidence. And the only way, and Elijah, you put this in my mind, the only way you have confidence is when you have clarity. And the only way you get clarity is when you create a plan. You get a plan, you know where you want to go. So these are very important concepts, not just for us, but for those that we are leading. They are able to relax. They're able to take that stress off their shoulders and able to say, we are good, we're protected. Somebody knows where we're going. So I know we've all been on a road trip with somebody who does not know where they're going, and everybody has anxiety in the car. Everybody's like, you want me to drive? When we get my GPS out, you need me to pull the map out? But when you're with somebody who knows where they're going, everybody's chilling. The ride is fun. Even when there's hiccups, nobody's stressed out. Nobody's going, oh my God. So it's very important, not just for us, but for everybody who's riding with us to have that plan. It puts everybody at ease. But I'd like to know your thoughts on it, Elijah, on, you know, why it's so important for the masculine to plan and also the effect it has on the feminine.
Yeah, the calculated. This is let's talk about it. I'm a free man. I'm a free man. I'm saying this again. I live my real lifestyle because it's a free man lifestyle. Free woman, free human, however you want to allude to it. I'm a free human, right? And by that nature, I want to talk about this because a lot of conversation right now is the toxic masculinity, the over-sexualized femininity, all of it. But a nuance there is, without the toxic masculinity that they're alluding to, there would be no femininity that we know today, because you need the structures and systems for that chaos to exist. If there was no government and police, you think women would be behaving the way they're behaving, dressing the way they're dressing? Because traditionally, you were getting snatched up. Like, there was no like, oh, cop, come save me. Like, you were getting snatched up. In a third world country, you get snatched up if you're outside looking crazy, dressing promiscuous. It was rules and ethics, right? It's like looking like a good like an animal being outside, like a baby animal running outside without any parents. It's like, oh, hyena's just like, okay, cool, free lunch, you know? So it's the psychology that comes into that. And we can say whatever we want. We understand that we have a reptilian part of our brain. We are part animal. Stop thinking we're not animalistic. And the goal of consciousness today, yes, is behave as such, but also be conscious of you acting as such, right? Let's play the game properly. Be aware of your animalistic nature. I promise you, most of your decisions are not made consciously. When you're hungry, you go eat something. When you want to use the bathroom, you go use the bathroom. You're not consciously meditating on, I'm going to finish this work first. No, you impulsively get up and go use the bathroom. You impulsively go into the fridge and grab food. So I'm using these analogies to also say that when we look at this as a masculine, feminine, and how one is designed to supplement the other, right? Within frames, you need color, right? Unless you have a blank canvas, right? So we need each other. This creates the balance of this experience, push and pull. Though making this macro for applicable to the average human, is when a masculine frame is designed accordingly, kids have toys. Kids don't have to worry about bills. Women or their significant other does not have to worry about bills and problems. They don't have to worry about the second and fourth order consequences of certain decisions, because the person who is thinking in this frame is not thinking solely of the immediate gratification. They're thinking of delayed gratification, thinking 4 to 5 steps afterward. They're planning in the future because they're seeing a vision. They're seeing something holistically. They're seeing what can happen, and they're circumventing a lot of those things. So when we zoom out and we say having a plan, having clarity, I know what I'm doing for the next 20 to 30 years. There's a lot of people, especially the mother of my son, that are extremely upset with me because I don't care about what's going on right now. because I know if I need to do something, I can take care of it right now, but my brain is aware of what's going to happen for the next 20, 30, 40 years of my family's lineage, which is very different than someone who right now has a car, they have a 9-to-5 job, they have the things that are supposed to create freedom. But all that does for most people, because they don't have a plan, is create a trap, right? Everything we once saw as freedom is a trap for us now, because now we're stuck. We get a job and now we get bills and we have more responsibility. Now we can't do the next thing, versus having a plan and you're designing for your future, designing for the goals. And these are some of the things that separate the levels of these spaces, right? The level of femininity, level of masculinity, and how someone's doing it. Because I'm looking at chess, not checkers. I'm thinking all the way in the future, right? And that's the difference, because that gives me a different level of responsibility and energetic density, because my brain is focused on being responsible for more decisions and more obligations, literally commitments, in a longer period of time that people don't understand sometimes. And it becomes a conflict. But when we're protecting others, where decisions are intended to be there for others, there's a lot that comes with that sometimes. And people are often not aware of those things. So I always want to remind both sides is your happiness is often at the cost of someone's suffering. And not in a negative sense, in an intentional sense. When someone built it, an example, us having this Zoom call, someone had to build this for us to do this. Someone had to build these platforms for us to have this conversation. We're enjoying this luxury because Steve Jobs built the computer I have in front of me, right? Because Sergey Brin at Google built what he designed, right? Like, we're having these benefits because so many people built things, and then we complain at the people who are building the things. So it's like we got to be conscious of that push and pull concept. Those are some thoughts. For them to play with.
I love it, brother. I love it. I want to hit on planning the levels of responsibility and delayed gratification for just a moment. So a lot of the times when we're planning, I want to break this down. Regardless of the plan that you have or may not have, if you do have one, I want to ask you this question. Did you create your plan, or did you borrow it from somebody else? And this is what I noticed. Most people are borrowing their plan, and it's traditional plan. And for whatever reason, people aren't noticing it's broken. It doesn't work anymore. It's outdated. Go to college, get the 9-to-5, work there for 20, 40 years, retire, and live comfortably. If we haven't taken a good look around, nobody is living comfortably. People are not living comfortably. Again, another plan that most people are taking is, I'm working a lot so I can make this money. Let me eat fast food because it's convenient. Let me share this responsibility, or delegate my responsibility for my body to other people. Let me delegate my responsibility to know how my body functions to another person. Let me delegate my responsibility to keep my health up to another person. And that's our plan. And I want to just take it back to ourselves for a moment and realize that part of planning is taking accountability and responsibility for its execution. We have to get into the mindset that it's on us to be responsible for us and for those under our wing. I feel like we've just given it away. We don't really want to take accountability or responsibility for the way our life turns out. And I know a lot of the time, well, I won't say I know, but I think a lot of times because it's a scary thing to want to be responsible for ourselves. It's a scary thing, especially if we grew up in certain traumatic environments or just environments that encourage or instill self-confidence, self-esteem, adaptability, worthiness. And so when we're tasked with taking on the responsibility of our lineage, of our own future, without anybody else attached to it, it can oftentimes be scary because it causes us to have to trust on ourselves again. We have to go back to trusting ourselves. And what I want to share with y'all today is failure is not as bad as it seems. In fact, failure is a good thing because it tells you and shows you what you should not be doing. We have to effectively fail. And we can't be afraid to fail when we're going out and doing something different. We can't be afraid to fail when we have our own plan. Because sometimes we're going to fall short. Sometimes what we decided on is not going to work out in the way that we wanted it to. We have to learn to adapt and not shy away from failure. We have to get out of this perfectionism mindset, because that is the ruin. That ruins us. That's why we don't do plans, because we want to be perfect rather than progress. Shout out to the R3aL Lifestyle for that principle. We have to get in a mindset of understanding that our greatest superpower, and for me, this is what I love, our greatest superpower is adaptability. We can adapt to anything, literally anything, and it's a detriment and a superpower. Because you put a snake in a cage, it's not gonna grow. You take it out of this cage, it's able to grow. But I wanted to give that preface here before I go into what I want to really talk about was 3 levels of responsibility: self, family, then community. When we're making a plan, we need to start with self. We have to start with self, because if self is not okay, we won't be able to care for these other 2. And eventually, when you make a plan, when you're not okay caring for other people, you're going to burn out and you're going to doom everybody else. So the first part of a plan for me is not even making the plan, but it's the mindset of understanding delayed gratification. You have to be willing to delay your gratification. You got to be willing to have people look at you sideways. You got to be willing to have people say like, yo, you're selfish. You're right, I am selfish, but I'm selfish because I know what I'm capable of doing once I get to my next level. I know once I take care of me, I can take care of you better. I can even show you, I can supplement what you're doing better. And only when self is good, then we move to the family unit. And the family unit is really what you codify as your family. You don't have to, your kin may not be family, and that's your decision. But after you're taken care of and your family's taken care of, then you can go to the community. That's where people can really branch out and start these monumental enterprises, or really even these small enterprises, where it is for the benefit of the people, but those first 2 pillars are taken care of. And you have to construct a plan in the proper manner so that you can move through all 3 of these levels in the proper manner, in a more efficient manner, understanding that there has to be a balance with you at the core. Your plan cannot be self-sacrificing. And I'm going to say that one more time, because this is what I've noticed with a lot of people, and I used to think the same way when it comes to making a plan. Do not sacrifice yourself for everybody else. That is a recipe for disaster, because guess what happens when you're gone? Your plan is done. That was not a proper plan. It's not going to stand the test of time. So you have to make sure that you're doing things that operate with or without you there. That means your plan has to instill principles or values or conditional logic. And all the conditional logic is a if then. If this happens, then we do this. If this happens, then we do that. And we teach that to everybody who's going to be affected by this. Or we put measures in place to make sure that things are taken care of. Elijah, actually, I'm sure you're going to hit on this too, but a proper plan would just say, just for a very base level, life insurance. It's a very, very basic plan, part of a plan. If I'm gone and I'm taking care of people, I need to make sure that they can still be taken care of. I instill life insurance in my plan. And now I don't have to worry about that anymore. Now I know that when that incident happens, my family's taken care of even when I'm not here anymore. I've created a legacy, so to speak, already, just with life insurance. And so just to wrap it all up, or just bring it all together, there's 3 levels of responsibility: self, family, then community. We have to understand that there's delayed gratification when working your plan. And if you work your plan properly, you essentially create your legacy, no matter how simple it is or how complex it is. Having those 3 areas in place and executing properly does create a legacy. And the question you have to ask yourself is this then: How long do you want your legacy to last? And that's going to determine how deep and how thorough you begin to plan your future. Elijah, I want to pass it over to you and see, what thoughts you may have, what you'd like to chime in.
Yeah, let's make it. Let's give you some action steps, everyone. First one, I would say, based on those levels of leadership, levels of responsibility, is first one. What do I need to do for me today? Right? As you begin asking yourself a series of 3 questions. What do I need to do for me today? What can I do for my family today? What can I do for my community today? And then this is how you flip it. What can I do for my family this week? What can I do for my family this month? What can I do for my family this quarter? What can I do for my family this year? Depending on your level of understanding, your level of commitment, and whichever one makes you a little overwhelmed. When I give people daily tasks, they get a little friction. They're like, oh, I don't know if I can do that today. A weekly task, a little less friction. A monthly task, a little less friction, right? So see what time frame applies a level of uncomfortability to you and address it. Start there though. So for yourself, what habit can you develop this week? What habit can you develop this month? What habit do you need to develop for your family, right? For me, it's calling people. I don't call people. I like to keep my head down. I like to build things up always in my masculine. Not contacting people is not okay. I need to contact my family. I need to make sure people are okay. I need to check in on humans. That's a habit I'm developing, right? But then for my community, what's the next level of that, right? That's systems, that's opportunities, that's educational platforms, that's distribution things, that's the businesses I'm building, right? So become conscious of those 3 questions and play with those a little bit. And then a very, very clear action step, if you have not yet, there should be a link down below to the R3aL method, right? To one of our courses. Start the onboarding process. Start becoming clear on some questions, some processes, a 168, a CDC, what books you're reading, who's around you, right? Become clear on some frameworks, the masculine side, the planning, some of the frameworks that can best supplement your path and trajectory towards the goals and outcomes that you actually have set up for yourself.
Family, you have your action steps. That's it, family. The only thing you have to do now is make a decision, or make a commitment rather. You can make a commitment to living the way you have been living. Now I'll ask you this question: on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you with your life? How satisfied are you with your life? You can't use 7. You make a decision based on where you're at. If you're below a 7, something needs to change. If you're above a 7 and you're not a 10, what's missing? So with that being said, take the action steps, click the link below. Let's get building together, family. Make a commitment to your unlived life. It's waiting on you. And the only difference between where you are now and where you could be are your habits. Thanks for tuning in, family. This is Brother Kosti. This is Jetson. Love is law. Family is business.
Business.